Hey everybody, and welcome back to a brand new Tanki Classic video. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this or talked about this with your friends, but there's a big problem currently in Tanki Classic, and that is the progression system. We look at Firebird MO here. Literally, you can get this thing maxed out to M3 at the Master Sergeant rank, which is already just insane to think about. You only have to get right here, or I guess First Sergeant, to get a fully maxed out turret. And it's like that for a lot of the turrets and holes in the game. You'll actually notice that most of the early turrets in the game, the early turrets that were introduced in the game, such as Firebird, Smokey right here, same thing. You can get it maxed out at only the Master Sergeant rank. You'll see with Railgun at the top right, you can get it maxed out really easily. With the holes in the game, you can see like right here, you can max out Wasp at the Staff Sergeant rank. And mind you, right now, you can get XP relatively easily. You can get Staff Sergeant in a day. So already within a day, you're able to get M3 Wasp. I mean, obviously you have to get crystals and such. Hornet takes all the way up to Warrant Officer 3. Hunter, you can get it at First Sergeant, which is really fast as well. And then Viking randomly like Warrant Officer 4. Mammoth takes to Warrant Officer 5, but still, you guys see the problem here. The problem, you can get maxed out holes and turrets way too fast. Now, I would say this is only a Tanki Classic early testing thing, but 10 months ago in a vlog, they said this. I'll let you guys take a listen and we'll talk about it.
For those who didn't play the game before the rebalance, equipment generations mean that at first, simpler turrets are available in the game, and then the more powerful ones. Equipment generations will return in Classic, but this doesn't mean that old turrets won't be relevant. On the contrary, they will be able to be equal in power to new equipment. Now we can allow ourselves to make the most important change in the game that completely removes the need for rebalance. Whatever rank you purchase your equipment at, your M3 tank will be equal to any other M3 tank. In other words, if you upgrade Wasp and Smokey to M3 at the beginning of the game in the Sergeant ranks, then you can keep playing it until the Legend rank, without purchasing any other tank. The game.
That's all we really need to listen to, and it scares me. I'll be honest, it scares me. Because the problem with that process is it does not give you any rewarding feeling or reward for grinding out and actually ranking up. Ranks really don't mean anything if you're able to get a maxed out combo without really even playing. Because I can kind of understand why Tanki did this back in the day. Not today, right? You have to think, when the game first came out in 2011, there were only like 4 holes and turrets total in the game. So it would be understandable to think that you would get those turrets and holes upgraded relatively easily. Because if you only had 4 turrets and 4 holes to upgrade, no one wants to wait a crap ton of time to upgrade one new hole, because each rank wouldn't have a new upgrade for a hole because there weren't enough holes and turrets to fill up that progress. And then Tanki added more holes and turrets like a year in, 2 years into the game being launched, and it would make sense then that most of the players who were already upgraded a little bit would now have access to those new turrets and holes, whereas if you first started playing, you would only have access to the original turrets and holes that have been in the game for so many years now. It kind of made sense, right? Because the progression of adding new stuff in the actual game and the game changing, it made sense in terms of balance changes to have these new items be upgraded later on and have the old balanced items be upgraded earlier on so that the balance isn't broken in early ranks, and then later ranks would have this brand new equipment where they could balance it and then make changes accordingly without completely destroying the game balance. However, in the current Tanki Classic version, you don't have to deal with that because you already have all the holes and turrets in the game. You already have balances for them. You already know how much damage they should do. And then if you think about the 2016 system where you had slow progression of every single turret and hole throughout the ranks all the way up till the later ranks, that's how it worked better. And it worked much better then compared to what they're doing currently, where you get a few turrets and holes maxed out, and then you can just use that same maxed out combo until the very end. So it kind of just takes away from ranking up completely. And again, I would think this would be only a Tanki Classic thing, or at least early testing thing, but they said that is the way they want to do it. And my problem with Tanki is sometimes they can be a little bit stubborn and not make changes, even if everyone else is complaining about the changes. Now, Hazel does listen to feedback, so I do think this is something we might be able to get changed if enough people are vocal about it. Like Babby made a video, Hockey made a video. This is something us as a community need to talk about, because if we don't talk about it, Tanki's not going to think it's a big enough issue where everyone in the game really wants this changed. So YouTubers, players, make sure you're vocal about this, because if we're not vocal enough, Tanki's not going to change it. and we're going to be stuck with this progression system from 2011 that just doesn't work in a Tanki Classic version that has everything from like 2018. It just doesn't work that way in my opinion. So let's just take a look at Firebird M1 from the year 2016. You would get the M1 version all the way at Master Sergeant. Made sense. This took about a week or two to grind out to if you were playing every day. A little bit longer in Old Tanki, but still, you finally got a nice upgrade after like 2 weeks of playing, and it felt really, really good. Now, next rank, you would get the upgrade at M2, would be all the way here at Major. Again, from Master Sergeant to Major, the average player with Premium could probably get there after 2 to 3 months. So after grinding the game 2 to 3 months, finally being able through there to unlock all the different M1 versions, because I think the last M1 version, maybe you got it like a warrant officer or third lieutenant, but you would finally unlock M2 Firebird at Major. And that accomplishment of getting an M2 turret, especially like Firebird, a really good version, a really good turret, especially in Old Tanki at Major, the accomplishment and feeling of success was just overwhelming. And then finally, all the way at Commander, you were able to get the maxed out version of the turret, the M3 version. And this was towards the end of the game. You weren't completely just lacking motivation to actually get to Commander. There was motivation to rank up, right? You were able to get really good combos by playing, grinding, getting XP, and ranking up. Now we take a look at Freeze. Obviously, I'm using Bandicam footage because it's hard to find actual footage of the old leveling, but MO you'd get relatively early. You'd finally be able to get M1 all the way at Warrant Officer, and this was relatively early for M1 turrets. Again, Firebird, you were able to get M1 basically the earliest out of all the turrets. You would have to get all the way to Warrant Officer 5 for M2, but compare that to Firebird, where you had to get to Major to get M2, Warrant Officer 5 was actually relatively early. And then after that, you'd be able to get Max Freeze at the rank of Major General, where if you wanted to get Max Firebird, you'd have to get all the way to Commander. But that means after you get to Major General or Lieutenant General, you have a reason to grind out to Generalissimo. And it's not going to be a super tough grind because there's certain turrets and holes that you can get maxed out early on. Like, let's take a look at Asita here. You're able to get MO relatively early. M1, this was one of the earliest M1s you could get. You would get M1 at the Sergeant Major rank, which was relatively early. I think the earliest M1 you can get was like Master Sergeant. I don't want to go over every single turret and hole because that would take forever, but just look at the ranks. It made sense here. Striker, when they first added it, you got M1 at Warrant Officer 3. You got M2 at, I think, oh my gosh, I hate the freaking rank names. You got M2 for Striker at the Major rank, which was just over halfway to Legend. I mean, the progression system was 500 times better in the I'd say post rebalance around 2014, all the way to when they started adding the MK7 or MK1 through 7, I think in 2021, 2022. But it was a much better system then, mainly because it made sense for the game they had. Again, Tanki Classic, it doesn't make sense to have the pre-2013 rebalance style in the game because, first of all, the game is fully finished. Tanki Classic has stuff that was added in 2014, 2015, 2016. It's not the pre-2013 version of the game. It is the version that has everything in it from 2009 all the way to like 2019. Also, that gold box looks crazy. Why does it look like that? But yeah, you guys get what I mean. I don't have to go too in depth over this because you guys understand the progression system should be like what it was in 2016 to 2018. Obviously, there's a few ranks you can probably change around. It doesn't have to be exactly like it, but it needs to be similar to it. And I hope Tanki sees this video and knows that I'm not just saying, hey, what you're doing is awful. I'm just being honest. Hey, Tanki, the progression system that you have currently in early access is not a great progression system. It doesn't work for the current version of the game. And the version I think almost all of us want in Tanki Classic is the one from 2016. And I know in the vlog, you said you guys wanted to have the system before 2013 rebalance, but I'm telling you guys right now, that is not what the general player base wants. And you guys can use that information as you want. Hopefully we'll see it changed and maybe we'll get a response from Tanki regarding this. I just wanted to get this conversation actually talked about because yes, there's a few YouTubers uploading videos on it, but I haven't seen an overwhelming majority of players talking about this in the game. And if we want to see this changed, if we want Tanki to actually do something about it, this needs to be talked about more than it currently is. So definitely let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. Don't forget to use credits like Taspens if you're going to buy anything in the shop. Again, just settings, account, choose a creator tag right there. See you guys in a future video. Peace out, everybody.